So today we will have a presentation by Prakash ji. Are you ready, Prakash ji?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to share the screen or how do you want to do it, Prakash ji?
Yeah, I will do share the screen, but I have a few things which are worth calling scribbling, but I hope at least I will get guided for talk.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll enable the screen sharing.
Please.
Yeah.
Let me know when you see my screen.
Yes, Prakash ji. Your screen is seen now.
Okay, so shall I start?
Please, Prakash ji.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you guys know, I'm a bit lacking. I didn't study for some time. So it's an effort to consolidate what I know so far. So sorry if I'm just pulling you back, guys.
No,
hope you can hear me well.
It's not at all pulling us back. It is always giving us another perspective to look at. So please do not be sorry.
Yes, Prakash.
Yeah.
So just for the want of time, what I did is I just used the original text as is and start looking into it, the shloka, the verse by verse, and then trying to see if then any particular statement in that shloka which interests me or which is worth pondering. So this is how I organized my talk. Rather, I mean, this is the PPT. What you're going to see is a mere bit of Kannada, a bit of English scribbling. So possibly we will not make anything out of it. So it's only for to guide my talk.
Certainly.
So with that as an introduction, I'll get started. So if I'm stating something grossly wrong, please correct me. You can stop me anytime. Okay.
Sure.
Sure. So I started. I mean, we all started together, possibly learning Tattvabodha. But when I started preparing for this talk, I started looking into word by word of what is written in the text. So the first thing which I looked into is what is Tattva. So I think Prabhuji has explained it very nicely in his talks. I tried Googling it a bit and reading through some of the DVG books. What is Tattva? So there are many things written about Tattva. So in nutshell, the statement which I made there at the top is what I liked. So that which makes thatness is Tattva. So what it remains as that. So because of that essence, that particular nature comes out is Tattva. So what this book essentially, I mean, to my understanding, is telling us, it is trying to tell us thatness of this existence, or the essential nature, as Prabhuji puts it. So possibly, I mean, I should say possibly because I have not read through the whole text. It is trying to tell us it is the real nature is different to what is apparent to us. I mean, in astronomy, we generally talk about this kind of things called apparent motion to the real motion. For example, the Saturn, even if you see the Panchangam, you will see what is known as Vakri, or the reverse motion from west to east. But that is not true. That really happens due to the relative motions of Earth and that planet. So that is the apparent motion. The real motion is always in one direction. So here in the Tattvabodha, it is trying to tell us the real nature or the essential nature, and trying to bring the contrast to the apparent nature of the self. So I just try to give one example here: hill, sand, stone, building, etc. They are all the same in its true nature, but they appear different to us. So the Tattvabodha starts with this invocation of the Guru. Vasudevendra Yogendram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshanam Hitartaya Tattvabodho Vidayate. So here the word which the sentence which caught my attention is Mumukshanam Hitartaya. So I just wondered, this book is written for somebody who is mumukshu. So who is mumukshu? is the question. If I am the mumukshu, before I read this text, because this is written for mumukshu. So I read through the definition again. Who is mumukshu? The first definition, which is I think which is very popular, is one who is focused on attaining liberation, which is essentially mean. I think liberation itself has different meaning in different say religion. In Christianity, it means something. In even in the Hindu Shastras, rather the Vedas, according to Veda, liberation means attaining some higher world, etc., etc. is there. But here, I think the moksha essentially mean the freeing oneself from the birth and death cycle. That is the one definition I got. The another one, which is possible, I picked it up from Chinmaya Mission book, is that it's a mental status where there is no sorrow, no duality, and experience only Ananda. So possibly, I mean, my thinking, one should lead to the other. And I think for the sake of the discussion, I think I'm going to keep this statement here because it's a little more tangible than the previous one. And also I looked into the Kagga, my favorite thing, to see if there is anything. So there it is said, Mukti embudu manada samsthitiye beralla. Rakti viparita vadakagadire mukti. Yuktiim karana chestitava tiddu teshamipa shaktivantane mukta. So all that it is telling is when the inner organs are not too much attracted towards the outside world, it has almost reached the mukti. So mukti embudu manada samsthitiye. So it is a state of mind. So therefore, what is the summary out of this? Is this book is written for a mumukshu. So we understood that the mumukshu is someone who is looking for a long-lasting experience of Ananda. Okay, I will proceed further. Sorry, there are texts in Kannada. It is just because I am comfortable in reading Kannada, I mean Sanskrit in Kannada rather than English. So I struggle. I mean, I struggled here to read. So therefore, I put it in Kannada here. Now, having established what is.
Sorry for interrupting, Prakash ji. One quick interruption. Hari Om Rupaji.
Hari Om Vijay ji. Hari Om everyone.
Hari Om Rupaji.
So today, Rupaji, Prakash ji is presenting his summary thoughts about Tattvabodha, what he has realized so far. So he just began when you joined. So he began by saying that his way of approaching this is by looking into the original text and understanding that. So he just started. Wherever you need, you can interrupt him and you can ask questions, either for clarification or for even any corrections if necessary. So just wanted to let you know.
Okay, Vijay ji.
Sorry, Prakash ji, please continue.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one thing I missed. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prakash.
Okay. So one thing I missed to highlight at the beginning is I read through Sarvanan's notes. I think it is very exhaustive and it is worth publishing like a book. It is like listening to Prabhuji's talk again. So I must thank, or we must thank Sarvananji for that. I think he has put a lot of effort in doing that. So thank you, Sarvananji.
Not here today, but I'm sure he will listen to your feelings.
Sure. Okay. So having established who is mumukshu, now we are looking into what is required to achieve moksha. So there are fourfold qualifications.
Sorry for interrupting, Prakash ji. Satyalata ji has joined. Hari Om Satyalata ji.
Hari Om Vijay ji.
Today, Prakash ji is presenting his summary understanding of Tattvabodha. He just began. His way of approach is mainly to look at the original text and to connect it to Prabhuji's talk and other things that he feels connected with. He just began, and he's just given us what is the Tattvabodha is all about, and he is into his second part of the presentation. And he is okay if you want to interrupt him for any clarifications or any corrections.
Yes, Vijay ji.
Yes, Prakash ji.
Right, thank you. Right, so we established what is moksha, who is mumukshu, and now we are looking into the four qualification it is said. But the word sadhana tells me it is a kind of practice one need to do to achieve the moksha. Possibly I'm wrong, but there are the four things which are required. The first thing is nitya nitya vastu vivekaha, iha mutrartha palabhoga viragaha, shamadhi shatka sampattihi, mumukshatvam cheti. So these are the four things which Shankaracharya ji is trying to put here, which is required to achieve moksha. So what is nitya nitya vastu vivekaha? Nitya anitya. So something which is with respect to the time he is trying to tell. So something which is there forever, something which is there only temporarily. So I looked into a bit of research onto it. How can we say something as nitya or anitya? According to Shastra, there are four qualifications has been put for discriminating nitya nitya vastu. How does it have a karana? Does it have a cause? Avayava. Avayava is basically the parts. Or is it drishya, or is it something experienceable? Or does it have utpatti or nasha? If the answer to utpatti is essentially the beginning or the end. So if answer to any of the above questions is yes, then it is anitya. So the interesting part is when we say anitya, we usually take this, when we take the material world, which covers all the material world, basically anitya, when you moment we say anitya. But the definitions given here basically cover all those things which we experience also. I mean, all the feelings, all the love, and all the bondage which we get, all are covered when we try to look at anitya as something which has the answer yes to one of this, because everything has a karana, everything has a cause. So moment that cause is removed, that falls apart. I mean, I don't know whether I can use this example. Even love, for that matter, though people say it is inexplicable, it has a karana, it has a cause. And moment that cause is removed, possibly it will fall off. Right? That's what we see in, possibly as people get aged. I mean, usually the couples start fighting a lot. I mean, possibly, I mean, I'm just hypothesizing here. So forgive me for that. So possibly the karana, the cause which was bonding them is gone, or it's not there. So therefore, that relationship is falling down. So therefore, all those things can be now grouped under anitya vastu. So once we know the anitya vastu, the only one thing which remains, or only one thing which is the cause for everything, but that itself doesn't have a cause, is the nitya vastu. So he is trying to tell that nitya vastu ekam brahmam tad vetariktam sarvam anityam. So he is trying to tell there is one thing called Brahma, which is the only thing which is nityam, which is there all the time, and all other things are anitya, all other things are impermanent. So that is the first statement. Now the second statement is iha mutrartha phalabhoga viragaha. So that means the person is neither interested in the worldly pleasures or the pleasure outside. The para also is not interested. Like, I will enjoy the swarga, etc., etc. Is not interested. Icha rahityam. So he doesn't have that desire anymore. I mean, we all already know what kind of desires typical human being are. Possibly we can extend to all the animals. The Shastra combines it as Kamini, Kanchana, and Kirti. Again, DVG consolidates as Annadatura Kinta, Chinnadatura Tikshna, Chinnadatura Kinta, Hennu Gandolavu, Mannanaya Dahakum, Yellakum Tikshnatama, Tinnudu Atmavane Mankutima. So Annadatura is the drive for food. Chinnadatura Tikshna is, Chinna is essentially the wealth. So the attain more wealth is more driving than the food. And beyond that is the Hennu Gandolavu, means it is the love between the male and the female which is more than these two kinds of desires. And beyond that, beyond all these three, is the Mannanaya Daha, is the Kirti, or I should get recognized, or I should be honored. This kind of desire is much more than this. So what it is telling here is the viraga of all these three or all the four, which I just described. But the important question comes, why viraga? Why should I deny the worldly pleasures which is offered to me? The thing which I found is that, I mean, this statement comes in the fire cannot be quenched by pouring more and more ghee to it. Comes in Viveka Chudamani of the same author, same Shankaracharya ji. I think why viraga is required is possibly as long as a person is dwelled more and more into worldly pleasure, possibly he will not be able to experience something beyond it. As long as you're stuck here, I mean, I keep telling my team, if you want to look for a job, first you have to start detaching from your existing job. Otherwise, you get more and more attached to your job, you'll not be able to find something new. So therefore, I think the viraga is trying to tell you that if you try to reduce the desire for this worldly pleasure, possibly you will be able to see something bigger, something larger. Then it talks about Shamadhi Sadhana Sampatti, Shamodama Upara, Stitiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam. So I think we dwelled a lot on this during our contemplation. Even in see, the important thing which I found here is the trust in Guru Vedanta Vakyadishu is one of the Shraddha. So in Shraddha is what? Is essentially you need to believe or you need to trust in Guru, or you have to trust in the Vedanta, or you have to trust in the scriptures. So if you question why I have to trust, I think the most of our studies start with a trust. If I start questioning how A is written, why it has to be written like that, then I think my studies won't progress beyond LKG, right? So therefore, I need to start the trust somewhere, start learning, and possibly when I attain some amount of knowledge, possibly I will be able to question it back or learn it more. So therefore, it is important that one should have all these 6 sadhanas or the practices which is required to attain moksha. Lastly, he says the mumukshatvam itself. One should have the desire to achieve the moksha. Of course, I mean, without this, people will not do any of the above. So one should have the desire to say that I mean, this is also a desire again. Though we are saying viraga here, this is also a kind of desire to attain moksha, to attain a kind of state where I will not be disturbed by anything happening outside. Rather, I will be in the state of happiness, irrespective of the situation or the time or what is happening outside. I think these are the fourfold qualification which Shankaracharya is tell us, which is required to attain moksha. So any questions here? Anything which we need to dwell more?
One question, Prakash ji.
Sure.
You brought out the idea of love, and the way you defined it is between 2 objects. So my love for, say, eating something, my love for wearing something, my love for my country. So there is one entity, and that is in love with another entity. And that you rightly said is anityam. But my question to you is there an aspect which is beyond that wanting to see what is love fundamentally is wanting to be one with it. Love essentially means that I want to possess it. Like even Prabhuji in the talk, he begins, there are various degrees. You know, I want to consume it. Why I want to eat food? I want to, my senses have to be in touch with it. So love is, in that sense, is about consuming it and becoming one with it. That is how love drives you, because you want to possess it. Now the question is there something inherent in the quality of love which is beyond the want to possess? Is love, therefore, see, English doesn't give us various vocabularies, various words. But there is a word called prema in Sanskrit. So how do you see that in relationship to what you said?
Sorry, I think I didn't understand the question well. Can you repeat in one line?
The question is, prema is defined as that which is not necessarily based on the duality. That feeling of oneness, or the feeling of, because I have to define it in English, it is that feeling of love which is not bound by the duality. See, in the typical word love, there is one and there is another. I want to eat idli because I love idli. I want to see that movie because I love that actor. So there is a wanting to come into contact with that other object through my senses. That is how love is defined.
So for love to happen, there must be two things. So
that is how it is defined in our common sense, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are two things, and if those two things are separate, then it is not called as love. Love is when I want it. I want to marry her. I want to consume it. I want to experience it. That is when love is defined. No, that is how love is defined. What is the underlying feeling there in that statement? That I want it to come into contact with my senses. So when something I love, I want to possess it, and it has to be something that I possess it through one of my five senses. Is the question so far clear?
Yeah.
The background?
Yeah.
Okay. Now there is a word called prema, which defines it as it is not because of wanting to possess it. There's an inherent feeling of oneness. And that is how prema is defined. Prema is not because I want to possess it, I want to consume it through my senses. Prema is inherent feeling, inherent nature of you is prema, which is not by wanting to possess or not by the otherness. It is inherent. You have an inherent, for example, when you're eating food, inherently it is to all the parts of the body. There is no otherness. It is out of the deep sense of oneness that you are consuming food and you are distributing to all the parts of the body. So prema is defined in that way. So can you contrast what you said? Do you agree with what is being said as prema?
But do we have any example for such kind of prema where it don't want to possess it? It just want to love it at a distance.
Several examples can be given, no?
Like?
So why do you pray for the well-being of someone who may not be next to you? Why do you say that lokaha samastaha sukhino bhavantu? What is your relationship to somebody sitting somewhere in America?
Okay.
So the question I'm raising, which you can contemplate on also, is there something beyond the way you define love? The way you define love is between two objects, wanting to possess. But prema is beyond possession. So please, you can refer to Prabhuji's talk also on this topic.
Okay.
There are levels of this love. So fundamentally, love is wanting to be one with it.
Right.
As long as the wanting to be one with it, there is otherness. There is duality. Please go ahead, Padmaji.
Sir, is there a particular video that you are referring to about Prabhuji talking about love in various degrees?
Around this area only. I think it must be in the
Initial videos of Tattvabodha.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Okay, because I don't know. I mean, when you're putting this question, it's making me also think, because I kind of concurred with what Prakash ji was trying to say. I think he was, I don't know if my understanding is correct. Maybe Prakash ji, you can correct it once I say it out. But I thought that he is specifying that prema aspect in the terms of that viraga, where he says that happiness is not an object. So ultimately, there is some dissatisfaction, even in love, is what.
Correct. When the
but-
love is between two, there is
Ah.
dissatisfaction inherent.
Yeah. So when you were also putting that question, I was exploring the aspect like where prema can be like above what you are saying, like what you are referring to. So I thought that even in mother-child relationship where the love is inherent to a large extent, there is still some aspect of that possessiveness or whatever you're saying. The degree might vary, but it is still there, is what I was thinking about. Not just between a male and female, I was even thinking from that perspective. And when you said that what is your connection with somebody who's in America, and why you are saying loka samastaha, I feel it's easier to say lokaha samastaha, no, rather than if they are somebody very close to you and you want to wish them well, with whom you don't have a very good relationship, that is more difficult compared to when you say lokaha samastaha, right? Because that's a
So,
general.
I think, is it not that somebody has taken the love aspect from the selfish level to a selfless level? Is it not the grade of loves what we are talking here? So when we say, when I pray for somebody, or when I say that my friend in US who is suffering, let him be well, let him recover well, recover faster. So basically what I have done is, rather than thinking about people who are just around me, I'm just thinking beyond. So I think possibly is that a way a person should elevate himself.
yeah, so therefore, in your framework, the way you said, love is between two objects. So I'm putting the question, can we break that boundary that there is an aspect called selfless love, which is what is your inherent nature, and that is why you are saying it's a lokaha samastaha. Yeah, when you are saying Padmaji, to my relative it may be difficult because your mind is focused on the whatever the goods and the bads or the rights and the wrongs of that person.
Correct.
But
Correct.
keeping that aside, your inherent nature, again I'm drawing the attention to, your inherent nature is unconditional love. See, any love that has a condition, I am a mother, therefore I love this child, is a conditional love.
Yeah.
Any unconditional love is what I am defining as prema, and that is your inherent nature, is what I am saying. So therefore, the question I'm raising to Prakash ji is, in what he said, there is reference to only conditional love. So there is unconditional love also, which is you have an inherent capacity to include everything without any conditions.
Yeah.
That is also inclusion. But it is not conditional inclusion.
So basically what you're telling is the Karana is taken off. The cause is taken off. There is no cause. There is no Karana. Therefore, it tends to become Nitya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is your it's an ever alive feeling within you. It's a deeper feeling within you.
Correct.
It is not by any conditions.
Just to remember one example, we all know the Shiv Kumar Swamiji, who lived for more than 100 years. I mean, he used to have something like 100 plus blind students in his ashram, it seems. So every day he used to have food only after he makes sure all these 100 people eat. I mean, this is what I think Vijayji is trying to tell us, where we can elevate. There's a love. There is definitely a love for those children, for those kids. But this is beyond the selfish love. See, the Swamiji is basically, he is not married, but he has such a big family to take care. But his family is much larger. It is more, more selfless than our kind of thinking, our kind of what we do. We are more selfish. We are keeping it very close to us. I mean, same example can be given about Vijayji. You must know what's his name, Raghavendra ji, whose pen name is Tiruka in Kannada, near Chitradurga. Yeah. He also he always used to say it. He denied all the awards given to him by the government. All that he used to tell me is, give me money because I have more children to take care. Yeah.
Or for that matter, if you just look at the life of even Prabhuji.
Yeah.
See now he's given up his job and all that he does is his teaching. There is no expectation out of what he's teaching from any one of us. There is no, okay, you give me this, then only I will teach. Nothing like that. So why all this, deeper truths are being shared? What is the purpose of that? The only purpose can be because he doesn't need my recognition or my adulation or my telling him, oh, you did a good job. What is the expectation? The only expectation is, may it help my life. And his teaching is now just, is like, like the wind. Wind doesn't really care who uses the wind.
Yeah.
So therefore, that is also love, but that is a unconditional love.
Yeah. Absolutely, Vijayji. Thank you for bringing that contrast.
Yeah, I think with animals also we can experience that, sir. Yeah, it's more obvious in the animals, the way they respond to you. No matter, they are not thinking that, you will give food or whatever, and so I have to love you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, please continue, Prakashji.
All right. Right. So basically what we covered so far, just for me to continue, we covered who is Mumukshu and what is required for achieving moksha. Now, the text is trying to talk about what is Tattva Viveka, is essentially what is the essential knowledge. So in the kind of a summary, what is said here, before you begin a presentation, generally we try to give an executive summary. It tries to tell you the objective of what is trying to achieve. It says the Tattva Viveka is something which makes you understand Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti. So only Atma is Satya, Tadanyat everything else is Mithya. Now I tried looking at again what is Satya. So when I looked into Satya, Wikipedia, these are the definitions or the meaning of Satya what I got. One is absolute truth, or the truth which is beyond the time scale, which is true in all the three the kalas, what we know, Bhuta, Vartamana and Bhavishyat. Something which is unchangeable, which has no distortion, right? Which has, again, as I said about time, space and person, which pervades the universe. So this is called as Satya in its true sense. So therefore, the definition of Satya basically covers the Anitya and the Nitya definitions which we brought earlier. But possibly the Satya is a larger definition in which a subset is the Nitya. The one of the quality of being a Satya is it has to be a Nitya Vastu also. But there are other qualities to become Satya. So the Atma, the Tattva Viveka, what is being taught here, or the knowledge of Tattva, the knowledge of essential nature, is what is being taught here is only Atma is Satya. Atma is the one which pervades everywhere. Atma is the one which is permanent. Atma is the one which is unchangeable. So now the text goes to tell us where is Atma or what is Atma, right? The next question the Shankaracharya is asking himself is Atma Haka. So where is Atma or what is Atma? So the answer given to is Stula Sukshma Karana Sharia Vyatiriktaha. So something which is not Stula Sukshma Karana Sharia, Panchakoshatita san, that means something which is beyond the 5 sheets. And Avastatraya Sakshi, so something which witnesses the Avastatraya which the human experience, is Sachidananda Swarupaha San Yattishtati Sa Atma. So whatever is there which is beyond the Stula Sukshma Karana Sharira, something which is beyond the Panchakoshas, something which experiences the Avastatraya is the Atma. So the point we are trying to make, or the text is trying to make a point here in terms of what is the essential knowledge, is that the Atma is the only Satya. Atma is the one which pervades everywhere. So, but what is Atma? Where I can find out Atma, where is Atma, is defined by negating few things. So what you see as Stula Sukshma Karana Sharira is not Atma. What is beyond this Panchakoshas is Atma, and the Avastatraya Sakshi, something which is witnessing all these three, is Atma.
When you say all these three, can you say what those three are?
Yeah, I will come to that in the next slide, I think.
Okay.
So I think these things which we dwelled a lot during our contemplation, but for the sake of completeness, I'll read through this. What is Stula Shariram? Panchikrita Panchamahabhutai Kritam Satkarma Janmyam Sukadukkadi Bhogayatanam Shariram. So Panchikrita is, I think Prabhuji has explained this well. The Panchikrita is a process where all the Maha Panchabhutas put together and a Sharira has been made, a body has been made, which is the tool for experiencing Sukha and Dukkha, which basically experiences both. And another important the characteristic of the Stula Sharira is Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viparinimate, Apakshiyate, Vinashyatiti. That means for the existence, it will be born, it will grow, Vardhate. Viparinimate, it essentially reaches the maturity stage. And then Apakshiyate, it starts decaying. And then Vinashyatiti means dies. So once which has this Shadvikara is a Stula Sharira. So therefore, what is looking from the previous statement, something which is Stula Sharira is not Atma. Now, what is the next level? Is the Sukshma Sharira, because it says even the Stula Sukshma. So next is Sukshma Sharira. So Sukshma Shariram kim Apanchikrita Panchamahabhutai Kritam Satkarma Janmyam Sukha Dukkadi Bhoga Sadhanam Pancha Gnanendriyani Pancha Karmendriyani Pancha Pranadayaha Manaishchekam Buddhaishcheka Evam Saptadasha Kalabhihi Saha Yattishtati Tat Sukshma Shariram. So without Sukshma Shariram, the Stula Shariram or the grass body cannot experience anything. That we all know. Even the dead body has the Stula Shariram. Unless there is a Sukshma Shariram in it, the Stula Shariram of no use. So it also has the subtle sense of all the Panchikrita, rather Panchabhuta, because though I see through my eyes, I understand or I observe through my mind. So therefore, it is not the eye which sees, it is what I can say is the faculty of seeing. It is a group of things which happens to see. So it is not just the eyes. I mean, we can see that some of this, differently abled people have different skills. I used to see one, I used to go to my sister used to go to a music teacher who was blind. I mean, he is a violinist basically, who used to play violin, and he used to keep track of tala also. He used to keep track of the rhythm. At any point in time, if somebody puts a wrong tala, instead of Anudruta, I put a Druta, he used to immediately catch it. So he cannot see, but only he can make from the sound. So I think because, as I said, it is a group of organs which is involved in seeing. When one of the senses is not working, possibly the more bandwidth is available for some other organ to function. So therefore they get a better sense through the whatever is the senses which are working. Then, having described the Stula Shariram, the Sukshma Shariram, the next one is the Karana Sharia. So I think we talked a lot about why a Karana Sharira is required, what is the necessity, because these two we can experience, the Stula and the Sukshma Sharira, but Karana Sharira is something which is not easily recognizable. So I think I have my next slide here, which I try to dwell little more onto Karana Sharira. The statement itself say it is anirvachaniyam, which means which cannot be explained in word. Avidya rupam, sharira dvayasya karana matram, satya rupa ajnana, nirvikalpa rupam, yadasti tat karana shariram is how it is described. So something which is inexplicable, something which is beginless, and something is the form of the ignorance, and which is the cause for other two bodies to be born, and it is nirvikalpa, having the free from thoughts. I mean, basically the nirvikalpa is easy to understand because we already crossed this Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharira is there, the mind is. So if the thought has to be there, the mind has to be there. But if you are going beyond the mind, obviously there is no thoughts. So therefore it is nirvikalpa, having the form of no thoughts. So yeah, so anirvachaniya is essentially, it is difficult to explain. We talked about anadi, it doesn't have a adi. Prabhuji has explained this well. We definitely know when I learned something, but when I don't know, when the ajnana is there, I don't know since how long it is there. It is there from ever. So it is anadi. And avidya, we talked about it. And this is how I understood the three, possibly we can look at it later. But the important point which I wanted to make is, what is the need for Karana Sharira is that something is experiencing all the three states, which we just described here in the Avasthatraya. So what is Avasthatraya is Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti. So something is experiencing all these states. If something is experienced, there should be an experiencer who is separate to this. Otherwise, the experience is not possible. For experience to happen, there must be definitely two things. One is the experiencer, and there must be an experienced object. So if the three states are being experienced, there must be something which is beyond these three. We definitely know there is Sthula Shariram, there is Sukshma Shariram. So I'm experiencing the two states for sure. So therefore, there is a need for a Karana Sharira, because which is the one which is able to experience these two, because this is separate. There need to be a separate state versus these two states. I mean, yet I'm not completely able to understand the definitions of it. Possibly we will, as we go through the text, it is a lot more clear. But as I understand, there is definitely a Karana Sharira, because it has to experience these two, and there must be a state beyond this also, because something is experiencing all these three also.
One question here.
Yes, sir.
Please go back to that slide where you defined Sthula Sharira. So why do you think the reference is to Satkarma Janyam?
Okay, I think it is referring to the karma philosophy here. So what is said is, because we are all born as human beings, so it is possible that one can take any of the body, because the Panchabhutas are the same. But depending on the prarabdha, or depending on the what we get, what do we do in the previous janma, so is what do we get. So therefore the Satkarma Janyam is, I think the Sthula Shariram here is referred only to the human body. The human body is due to the good deeds. Is what do I understand.
Sthula and Sukshma are Satkarma Janya. So yeah, please continue. Yeah,
so that's what I'm trying to say. So I think it is referring to the human body. So if there are good deeds are done, you will get a human janma, is what is it. Otherwise, it's possible that you can get any other janma also, because the Panchabhutas are the same, the process is the same, but only thing is the bodies are different and the abilities are different.
So here, why do you think it is being elevated.
You mean
See,
elevated?
by saying it could have been said as karmajanyam, right? But it is called as satkarmajanyam.
Yeah, that's good deeds, because you have done the good deeds. So possibly you are in the path of evolution.
So there is some importance being given to this mind and body, isn't it?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think is the need for that? Why is Shankaracharya ji elevating this mind and body as a satkarmajanya? He could have just simply said it as karmajanyam, which is correct. We know everything as a cause. Any form as a cause. Why is he giving the importance to satkarma?
No, it's possibly because we are talking about a human body here. So human body is much more elevated, much more evolved compared to any other form on this earth.
Sure. So
right. So therefore it has more therefore it should be coming from the good deed is the conclusion, possibly.
So in what sense is it elevated?
So you're asking how human body is more elevated than the rest of the world.
Now, why is there a reference to elevation or satkarma again? See, in terms of capabilities, for example, in terms of physical strength, it is actually much inferior to many others. And even in terms of some specific mind capabilities, it is inferior to many others.
Not sure, Vijay. I am not able to understand the question well. So
the question is this: why is there a reference to satkarma instead of just saying karmajanyam? This body is karmajanyam. Why is he stressing on satkarmajanyam? Which means that the human body is being elevated. But why is it being elevated?
not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, Rupa, you want to say something?
Because only humans can desire for moksha and no other being. And it is only because of the good karma we get human body.
Is it agreeable to Prakash ji?
Yeah, that's what I said. So Satkarma says a good deeds in the past janma, you're getting the human body. Otherwise, you would have got any other body also. But
that you got in the body, why is it being elevated?
To experience more, or I said it's evolution.
But Rupaji put it that it is for, because this is the only body which can experience the mumukshatva or the moksha.
Correct.
So therefore, what I'm asking you is that what Rupaji said, is that agreeable to you?
Yes, I think. Yeah. What she said is right. Because only human body can become a mumukshu, because it needs lot more than a simple body, because it needs a good mind, it needs a good sukshma shariram also, just not the gross body. But in most of the animals, I think the sukshma shariram is not so strong.
Just to bring some contrast and discussion, there is also a story in Ramana ashrama of a cow called Lakshmi, which Ramana says, Guru Ramana says, got the mukti. At the time of the death, he got pulled towards the cow, and he was there for more than some 30 or 40 minutes. And towards the end, he said that now Lakshmi is liberated. This is how the story goes from outside. Okay, these are the statements. So then how do you contrast that with what is being said here?
Yeah, see, it is said it is difficult. It is not impossible. So, I mean, even in the lower bodies, I mean, I'm calling lower is only in terms of the evolution. So it is possible that it can attain mukti, but not through the knowledge which humans can do. I mean, that's what we are trying to do here.
So you're saying that, you know, that animal cannot have a mukti because of the jnana.
Correct.
Is there anyone who agrees, disagrees, or wants to make a different statement on this particular word, Satkarmajanyam, and what is being discussed? Is it making sense to everyone? Padmaji, Shubhaji, Satyaji?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I also think that, yeah, to an extent, like the karmas that we do kind of define the kind of body we get or whatever. But I don't think only humans can attain liberation. That is something which we have to ponder upon, whether it's really true. But I also believe that, like what Prakash ji said, like through jnana getting liberated is, I think, probably only for humans, because that aspect is missing in the other, living beings.
I mean, even in Mahabharata, when in the Swargarohana Parva, when they all started climbing, so everybody else dies off. Only Dharmaraya and one dog will remain. And they are the people who enter the Swarga. Right. So I think it is, yeah, you're right. It is possible for the lower animals to get mukti, but not through the jnana.
But going to Swarga, even in Mahabharata, is defined not as the ultimate liberation.
Yeah.
In fact, the next chapter after Swargarohana Parva is the most important one. You know that story, right?
What happened? Yeah, no, sorry. Can you tell me a little more?
So now that he has entered, and in fact his dog is also denied the entry to Swarga. The dog represents the baggage of the, your karma. So that has left. So now he enters. And he's expecting his brothers to be there. But instead he finds Kauravas. And he wonders, where is my brothers? And he asks. So they take him to Naraka and they show. They are now in various tortures in Naraka. This really angers Dharmaraya. So he goes to a discussion with Yamadharma. Yamadharma says, see, all the Kauravas got killed in the war in different torturous ways. You all had a 36 years after that war, undisturbed life. But still, you have not yet forgiven Kauravas. That's why you're still in the Swargaloka. And to go beyond, you have to go to Kashi and take a dip in Ganga. So it is referred to, the Ganga is the Jnana Ganga, and in that, giving up all these rights and wrongs. So doing the right thing can take one towards Swarga, but going beyond that requires dropping even that right and wrong. So then it is said that Yudhishthira or Dharmaraya found the ultimate liberation.
Right.
So coming back to our discussion here, so therefore Satkarma Janya, one is, it is the good deeds. But that begs the other question, no? Good deeds. when there is unawareness in any other animal body, where is the discrimination? Is there a discrimination even possible? To say good deed, there must be some kind of a discriminatory power, no?
But is it there in animals, sir?
Correct. That is why I'm raising the question.
But how do you say it is not there?
Yeah, I mean, there is no way to know that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, we can see in the animals' behavior that some are very friendly and some are very rude. They try to threaten people. And is it not because is it not defines their is it not what is defining their next evolution? I mean, this we see in all the animals. It is not only in dogs, in cow, in everything you see. There are varied characteristics in terms of their behavior.
Correct.
So if that is happening, I mean, if the Sukshma Sharira is, if the mind is not there, there must be mind to some extent, I think. It is not zero.
No, mind is there is evident, no?
Yeah, mind is there.
How can creation happen?
Yeah,
Mind is evident.
Correct.
Also, sir, I feel that just like in the Gita, it says about, who you are born as, to which parents you are born as, in which all that also is depending upon your karma. Similarly, I think even animals, there are different levels in animals, and even in animals, if I just say, just say dogs or whatever, like I have a dog who is born into a vegetarian, he has come to a vegetarian family. So obviously, I don't know, his thing will be different if we go by that food things, and what we consume is what we become. Compared to a dog that is going to a non-vegetarian house, it will be more, I don't know. I mean, I think from that perspective, so I'm just putting it like that. That is the only example I know. But in animals also, you have vegetarian animals and somebody meat eater. So the Rajas, Sattvic and Tamas, that is going to differ even within that, right? That is the essential. I mean, it's from where the thing is evolving itself. I mean, that's where the combination of that is what is giving rise to the gross body, right?
I mean, in one of the, just to give another example here, I was listening to, you may be knowing Bananje Govindacharya's lecture. So he was telling, he was quoting an example while he was giving some lectures on Vishnu Sahasranama in Udupi in the Srimad. So there used to be a dog which used to enter the mat and sit in the front row and do nothing. And it never used to harm anyone. It is never used to bark at anything. It just sit there, sit through the lecture, and then walk peacefully after that. So he was saying it is something which I could not explain to myself, why the dog is coming inside. Exactly, it comes at the time. If 9:30 is the lecture start time, it will exactly come at 9:30. It suddenly appears from somewhere and goes inside the hall and sits. It sits quietly through the lecture and then comes out. So I don't know, we can call it as possibly the samskara.
You may recall the Purana story of Jada Bharata. You recall that, right?
Yeah.
So he's born as a deer, but now he still is carrying those impressions.
Yeah.
So which means that there is a fundamental ability even in the animal form to act beyond the instincts.
Yeah.
And that is what is being referred as Satkarma.
Also, the story of the two birds which grew apart, one in a sage's ashrama and one more in a hunter's ashrama. Both their characters are different, even though they are born from the same mother.
But that story gives us more
On the samskara.
conditioned by the society.
Yeah, but the way we take it is where we are, right? If I am in a sage's house, I get the good ones. So there is a distinction. I wanted to highlight that distinction. Even they can make the distinction is what I wanted.
No, that story doesn't tell us that, see, for example, it only tells us that it starts saying nice things that the Pandita has taught. So that is more like a conditioning that has gone in that environment. Whereas the other bird, even that bird could have learned whatever the Pandita is teaching, but it went into the butcher's house, so it started repeating the butcher's statements.
It happened by chance.
That story is not indicating to that the animal can also evolve. It can repeat. Mind is there, is no doubt. The ability of the mind is to learn, and different animals show different levels of that learning in human recognizable form. A parrot is more, in terms of sounds it makes, closer to what humans understand. But the others also have an ability to create. I have a video of a fish which creates such intricate circle to attract the female, and that intricate circle is so complex that it looks like a very sophisticated engineering thought. The entrance and the troughs and the way it decorates, I can show you that. One is that video reference. The other video reference, Prakashji, is there is this cheetah which starts caring for a baboon, baby baboon, after killing the mother baboon. Have you seen that video?
No.
Okay.
I think we shared it before, but we can see it again.
Can I share that, Prakashji?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing.
Yeah.
Something moved in the dead baboon's fur. A day-old newborn. It took a moment for Lakhadima to notice. She's always been curious. But instead of a swift bite to the neck, Lakhadima stopped, then lay down with the baboon. She didn't know how to react. Hyenas would normally send her scurrying for the trees, but this time, she gently lifted the baby to safety first. Only then did she return to confront the hyena. It was an aggressive defense, protecting the baby, not defending her kill. Lakhadima's eyes never left the baby for hours, and strangely, this newborn started following her everywhere, reaching out to her, most likely imprinting on his new surrogate mother. And Lakhadima seemed to be caught up in her own internal conflict. A young leopard at a confusing crossroads of life, torn between being a predator and an inquisitive cub. Perhaps something more maternal and compassionate started to grow within her at that moment.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. So when that animal decided not to go by the instinct, by the identity called the cheetah, again, we are describing like humans, but somewhere something shifted in that animal. It was no more acting like a cheetah, because an acting like a cheetah would have been to kill. So Satkarma is these kinds of conscious choices to elevate, to go beyond, something far more deeper, which is inherent within you, to move towards that. Because the very word Sat Karma means Sat, that karma which takes you towards Sat, truth. Means what? Whatever is in line with the unchanging being, that is you. Whatever is in tune with the natural way is Sat Karma. So again, going back to the discussion we had about love and prema, this is which is beyond that boundary, no conditions, but something else that prompted, and that being listened to that.
Yeah.
I'll share in the group another video of Baba Amte's son, Prakash Amte, and his wife, Mandakini Amte. They are living near Maharashtra. They have a family of wild animals. Cheetah, leopard, snakes, so many wild animals. And these are animals that they have been raising as part of their family. Usually these are animals which some people may be hunting, and they usually protect them and later leave it to wild. So when you see in that video, these animals somehow have a feeling towards Amte and his family, as though they are their family. So the cheetah and the snake, there's a snake which is crawling around his youngest child in the family. She must be what, some 6 months or 8 months old. She's playing with that snake. So none of them are harming them. These people are not harming them. So there is something far more fundamental which binds them. So that Sat is a recognition that in the other, in the so-called other, is the self only. So somewhere there are all these glimpses in everyone's life in different ways.
Yeah.
So therefore, Shankaracharya ji is drawing our attention back to Sat Karma. Because the feeling that the world is one is not just a mere philosophical statement, because that is the truth. Let's continue, Prakash ji, unless there are questions or anything else that somebody wants to share.
Yeah, Vijayji. So I was just thinking that when we were talking about love, so this is every person or every being inherently has a nature. So that is the tattva. So that tattva is pure love. It is not identified with anything, unchanging, eternal. And the more a cheetah need not behave like a cheetah, a human being need not behave like the human being which is expected to be. So if when we are connected, or the moment that conditioning drops, or the moment that identification drops, what remains is your pure tattva, which is your consciousness, and it is it can be a conscious choice, or you either go back to that conscious choice or you remove the conditioning. Either way, you land up in your true nature.
Very nice. There is no way to express what is love actually. It is generally defined as between two objects, but what is that feeling that is inherent even in that? Beyond, okay, I love my mobile. Beyond that, what is that thing called as love? It's an inherent feeling which wants to unite, bring together, where there is no separation, where there is no conflict. A conflictless state is love. There is no more me and the other. Even though it may start as, okay, I love, I want to possess it. Why you want to possess? Because in that moment of possession, the separation is lost. That's why there is a natural affinity towards wanting to possess. But there's a mistake in that it prompts you to go on wanting to possess more and more. There is still a separation because the jnana hasn't yet separated the boundaries. There is no need to possess it through the senses. It's already part of you, is a realization that the jnana brings. But initially, it begins with this kind of I want that, I want to possess it, I want it, I want it. Does it make sense? Does it add to what?
Yeah, that is why it is said that pure love actually gives freedom than possession. So the more, when identification is not there, there is more freedom. So we can love freely without any conditioning or inhibitions or expectation or identification. So if these four are not there in any relationship, I think that is where it is pure love. Because I mean, generally people say we are one. Okay, the two people are one. So that is nothing but the oneness which actually we are referring to is our inherent nature. So the more we go back to our inherent nature, the more we are there, we feel very happy and comfortable. As you know, that example of having a cup of coffee gives me happiness, and the moment that is done, during that time, there is nothing, no separation. So that way, whenever we are loving someone, if there are no inhibitions, I mean, no expectations, no identification with me and the other person, and no expectations or inhibitions, what happens is a true love flows. And it is not something which we plan or design to do. It is just going back to that pure nature will always make us happy and blissful. So that is where in the initial days, as Prakash ji was saying, initially the relation is different, because initially you don't see two different beings. You see more of a oneness. And slowly there is a duality which comes in and which seeps in, where you start looking at the other person or the other person as an object, or identify it as this and this. So when you name the other person as something, obviously the difference starts. So initially all that is blinded because our mind does not exist much. That is the knowledge is not there about the other person much. So you have not spoken to the other person much, you did not interact with them much, and because of that, your mind is at a zero level. So when mind is absent, what is there is the self.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Anyone else wants to say? Can Prakash ji continue? Continue, Prakash ji.
Thank you. So can you see back my screen?
Yes.
Right. So where were we? Right. So we covered Yeah, we covered the Karana Sharia, and therefore we understood what is that Atma is not, right? So this is my interpretation of rather the atomic model of the Atma, where the gross is where all the four bodies exist, or three bodies exist, and the subtle is where the rest of the body, and the causal is only the causal, and the one more Atma, the source, is there. So I think the whole effort is go towards this center, goes towards this Atma and crossing all these three hurdles.
One question here again, Prakash ji. This is the typical model shown in the Panchakosha, where Atma is seen as the innermost core.
Yeah.
But in reality, is that the right way to look at it? So when you say something is inside, so something must be outside.
Yeah.
Then how do you say that it is beyond inside and outside? Because something inside, outside, already there is a cause and effect and change and unchange and form, and so how do you?
No, but it's essentially like we're telling the air is everywhere, right? So the air is also inside me, inside the body. So that doesn't stop that being universal, right? Just because it is inside, it doesn't mean that it is not universal.
So therefore, I'm asking your atomic model a question. Should the Atma be everywhere then? In your atomic model, Atma is shown only in the center.
Yeah. So, I mean, Atma is also outside. Atma is also everywhere. So, but what I'm telling, only in terms of the body, there is a center where there is a source. There's a source of energy. It's like a petrol in a car, right? Which is driving all other things.
Sure.
But petrol is also outside. I'm not telling no. But what I'm telling is inside the body, at the center, you have the source.
Which is not a way to, there is no way to say that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult to, yeah, you're right. So it's very difficult to depict it in one picture of showing the universality of Atma. But purely from the body perspective, I'm trying to understand here.
Sure. So maybe just like how you may want to represent air everywhere, there's a whole background of air, and in that there is a balloon appearing with
correct
air.
Yeah.
In that way, there can be a background in your atomic model, there can be a background called Atma.
Right.
It is both inside and outside.
Yeah. Which is boundaryless.
Yeah.
Correct. So the Atma is basically, I need to represent Atma here, everywhere.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, please continue, Prakash.
Sure. I think we talked about Avasthatraya already, so I will skip this slide. We also talked about Panchakosha, so I will skip this as well. So now it comes to the conclusion. So what is Atma? So we are trying to understand the Ka Atma is the question which is asked. So where is Atma? What is Atma? So now Shankaracharya ji is trying to tell what is Atma. So what is said is Madiyam Shariram, Madiyaha Prana. So whatever we call it as mind, Madiyam Shariram, my body, Madiyah Prana, my prana, Madiyam Manascha, Madiyam Buddhir, Madiyam Ajnana. It is Svenaiva Gnayate, Tadyata Madiyatvena Gnatam, Kataka Kundalam Gruhadikam. So whatever we refer by saying mine, my house, my car, my body, all these things are not Atma. So that is Madiyatvena Gnata, Matva na bhavati. So whatever is known by mind is not Atma. Then the question is, what is Atma? So the Atma is known as Satchidananda Rupa. So why? Because we already described the Nitya and the Anitya, and we also described the Satya. So Sat Kim, Satchidananda has three words in it, Sat, Chit and Ananda. So now Satyam is something which we already described, is something which lives through the time or which is permanent. So therefore, whatever which is not bounded by the Kala, the Bhuta, Bhavishyat and Vartamana, so that is called Satya. So therefore, the Atma's definition is Kala Trayepi Tishtiti. So whatever which remains through the Kala. Chit Kim Jnana Swarupaha. That is because consciousness, we talked about this. If all these three states to be known, there must be consciousness. There must be somebody who is knowing it. So therefore, it is the Rupa of the consciousness, right? And then the Anandaha. So then the last state is Anandaha. I mean, this I struggled a bit to explain to myself how something can be called as Ananda. So possibly, I mean, this is my explanation to myself, so people can add. We get disturbed, we go out, we laugh, we get disturbed, we get we get sad, etc., etc. But if you come back and just sit for a few minutes, the mind calms down, so you'll be able to enjoy. I mean, again, the mind is gone back to its steady state. So I mean, just bringing a kind of an analogy here. If we try to take a bit of water and put it on a flame, it starts boiling. And if you, okay, now it's boiling, now you just switch it off and start allowing it to cool, then again it reaches a steady state. So then the steady state, it's its true nature. It must be its true nature because it is coming back to its state. So we disturb it because of external stimuli, right? By giving heat or giving force, pressure, etc. When you stimulate it, it will get all these kinds of feeling, like feeling sad, feeling sorrow, feeling dejected, and all these things. But when you allow it to settle down a bit, it will come back to its state, and that state possibly is referred as Ananda here, which is undisturbed. So therefore, what Shankaracharya is trying to conclude here is Atma. We described it is not the body, which is not the three states, which is a witness to these three states, but which is the Sat Chit Ananda, is what is described, or how the Atma is described. I think that's all I have for today, Vijayji, and I will cover the rest of it possibly in a few more weeks.
Definitely, that is
so. Thank you so much.
No. This one is not. I have a couple of questions to you.
Please.
So the way you define Ananda, you made it like a state. State means what?
A state of being, where it is, it
is some kind of a difference is there, isn't it? So if you say state of zero, means there is another state called one or something else. So any state means there is some other state or other states. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is Ananda a state? Is that a correct way of looking at Ananda as a state?
I think yes, right? It is a state.
Then how come it is being described with respect to Atma, which is beyond the states? Because then Atma itself is defined as beyond state. Then how come?
No, see, this Ananda, what we are talking here, is beyond what is known as happiness. The happiness is a temporary state. It comes and goes. But this Ananda here is a kind of a steady state, or the true nature, or the true, I don't know what else word is there in English to tell this. But as I said, water comes back to its normal state. This is the normal state of the Atma, is what I know, what I understand.
So by describing it as either a steady or a normal state, we still are calling it as a state. State means something that changes. Something disappears and can appear.
You want to call it as a nature?
So essential nature is something that is never disturbed. Because the other two, Sat and Chit, are they states or are they essential nature of Atman?
Yeah, they are the essential nature. They are not the states because they are there always.
Likewise, the word itself is saying Satchidananda Swarupaha. So which means that Ananda is the essential nature. It is not a state.
Right. Okay. Got it.
So, but how do you then explain to yourself, then why do I feel sad? Why do I feel unhappy? Okay, Sattanchit, you can
No, I think that feelings are not happening at the Atma level. It is happening mostly at this level, at the subtle level.
What do you mean? How can your eye generate a feeling? See,
No, I cannot generate a feeling.
Ah.
I can only give you the information.
Correct.
The one which interprets is the subtle body.
So where is the feeling coming from then?
The feeling is also here. It's a subtle body only.
So does your mind generate the feeling? What is the feeling?
Yeah, I mean, mind does generate the feeling. See, it processes the information. How it processes the information is what it generates the feeling.
So what is the feeling according to you?
Basically, the feeling is a reaction to something, reaction to some event or some situation outside.
Is it always a reaction? Don't you have inherent feelings also? You're just sitting and you feel very nice and calm, serene. And you say, oh, what is
right.
that?
So when you don't have any feelings, when you don't have any thoughts, is where you are residing in the Ananda, right? In the Atma. But when you have that waves coming in, that's all happening here. That's all happening in the subtle body.
Good. So now with reference to that, please tell, what is Ananda then? How is Ananda Sahaja Swarupa or in essential nature?
No, what is being said is when you are able to settle this, when you make this mind undisturbed, or if you are able to control it in such a way that it is not disturbed, then possibly you will start seeing the reflection of Atma, which is the Ananda, which you rightly mentioned as not a state, but it's a nature. It's where it goes back to. So it is not going back here. It's because there is a lot of disturbance here. See, it is essentially like, why do we see the star twinkling? It's not because the star is twinkling. It is because of the turbulence in the air, right? It is because of that is disturbing you. So therefore, the star appears to be twinkling, right? But once that air is removed, once you get into a vacuum, you will see only a light, a steady light. That is the essential nature of Atma.
Excellent. But then how do you then describe happiness? I eat jalebi and I feel happy.
That's again a feeling. That's again a feeling happening at the subtle level.
So how did that come into experience? See, for something to come to experience, it's a natural thing, no? So you held your child in your arm for the first time, you felt happy.
Correct.
So how do you describe that then? Then how do you say that no, happiness is my essential nature? It seems like coming from the things that we get in contact with. If you were not holding your baby, you wouldn't have felt it that way.
No, true. See, whenever the sense organs comes in contact with its subjects, right? So for the mouth, it's a jalebi. For the eyes, let's say it's a good movie or good scene. We feel happy. That's a feeling. That's a reaction the mind is generating to an event, to a situation. That is not the true nature.
I'm asking you to reflect on. Is it a reaction being generated by the mind? How is that coming? How is that being powered? That feeling of happiness is true. You felt it. Correct. No, there is no denial of that fact. Correct?
Yeah.
So you held your baby and you felt, oh, wow, so nice. That feeling of joy is real in that moment. Yeah. How did that happen?
No, I think as Satyaji mentioned, I mean, she was giving an example of the coffee. So I drank coffee, I felt happy. It's not because the mind has calmed down because I could get coffee. Suppose if I didn't get coffee, I badly wanted coffee in the morning, but I didn't get it. So what happens? The mind gets agitated. So therefore you don't feel happiness because as I mentioned in the star example, there is a lot more turbulence. So therefore you will not be able to really see the starlight. For to experience Ananda, you need to have this settle down. You need to have that undisturbed.
So when you held the baby, the mind was completely at peace with everything that was happening.
Correct.
No turbulence. So your inherent nature just shined, is what you're saying.
That's what I think.
And is that true in all situations of our life? Whenever we have felt happy, is it true that happiness has inherently come from within?
I mean, I don't know. The question is confusing. When you say inherently come within, when you talk about the happiness which is happening in the mind, it is because you got what you wanted, or whatever is you wanted it in some way, it happened in that way. So it is because of that combination of want and what is happening, right? But essentially what is happening here is that the mind is calming down, the mind is settling down. So therefore you will be able to experience Atma.
True.
Or the Ananda.
True. So again, let me go back to the question. In all these situations, you got what you wanted. So the mind calmed down and you experience that feeling which you call as happiness, joy, whatever the terms you're giving, doesn't matter. But there's an inherent feeling of niceness. Again, it's a limitation of our vocabulary, what that feeling is, but you can get the idea. Mind calmed down and you felt something. So far with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question I'm asking is that true in all situations whenever you felt happy?
Yes.
Okay. So now the question is, the reason why that Ananda is not always felt. Why is that Ananda not always felt?
That is because, again, as I said, you are not able to experience Ananda is because there is dissatisfaction at this core, at this subtle level. See, what I'm telling is, to experience Ananda, you need to have two things. One, your mind should get satisfied with what it wants. Or, I mean, when it gets satisfied, obviously it calms down, thereby momentarily or temporarily, you will be able to experience Ananda. Or you control the mind, or you make the mind stable by some practices, some techniques. In either of these two cases, whenever the mind is calmed down, when the mind is undisturbed, you will be able to experience Ananda. I mean, you may ask the question, like when I sit in the puja room with eyes closed and doing the prayers, I'll experience Ananda. It's only because my mind is not disturbed. It's no more wavy in nature.
So I'm again making it conditioned or subject to doing something.
Yeah.
The way you're defining, Ananda can be felt. Yeah, I can feel it. How? Do that or do this. Then only you'll feel bliss. Or that so-called Ananda. Is the statement you're making?
Yes.
Okay, now the next question is that the truth?
You broke. Sorry. Can you repeat?
The next question is then, is that the truth? That it is subject to conditions of life. Then it is essentially subject to conditions of life. You have to do something. I have to do puja, I have to do meditation, I have to do service, go and eat something, I have to get something. So it is subject to something.
Yeah, correct.
Then is it ever going to be completed? Then can you ever be free from that cycle?
Free from the cycle of doing something and getting something.
Because that is the whole logic. No, now Because what I love the most is that feeling of happiness. That is why I do whatever I do. So now I have to do something in order to get. So the doing will never end. I'm constantly now in the doing. Is the question clear?
Yeah, is the question. Question is clear. Yeah. Question is clear.
What is the opinion of others?
So basically, you're asking: is there a way you can overrule the methods which you used to going towards Atma? So the one of the method is like drinking coffee, etc., or doing meditation, etc., etc. So these are the practices. So is there a way you can overrule this or overcome this?
See, what is inherent must be beyond conditions, no?
Agreed.
But here the definition is being given as it is subject to condition of doing something, which in turn means that I will never be able to escape from that. There is really no mukti then.
I think the only way to figure that out is the neti, because until we really experience it, can we truly like express it with our limited senses and the mind?
Until you truly experience what?
That means until you are self-realized.
What does it mean to until self-realize? What does it really mean?
Until all the conditionings and everything and the mind is purified.
See, for example, when will the mirror realize it is a mirror? The very
If you ask me, no, if you ask me in this way, there is nothing to realize for the mirror, right? It has just to be. It's just there. I mean, there is just the mirror, nothing else. I mean, how can a mirror see itself?
It cannot see, that's a different question. But here, the mirror is thinking it is a telescope. That is the source of the problem, no?
Yeah, so for that, the jnana is helpful.
Correct. So, but when you use the word until it is self-realized, which means that when will that realization happen? What will enable that realization? It's been
Only
told,
jnana.
you are no more the telescope, you are the mirror. But what blocks?
Yeah, the ajnana that we have is what is blocking it, right?
So how will that then? So see, there are two distinct questions that are coming up now. One is with respect to what Prakashji said. Ananda is inherent nature, agreeing, is agreeing, but he's making it can be experienced subject to conditions. And
No, there are no conditions in experiencing Ananda. Because I think, like how I said in the case of the mirror, if you just be, then there is only Ananda, right? I mean, you cannot even express that emotion. It happens sometimes during meditation when there is a point of no mind. If I have to put it in words, actually there is no word to describe it, but there is a point where you can say there is a no mind. And in that state, that for me is something which will refer to as Ananda or bliss, because there is nothing there. There is nothing there. I can't even call it as happiness. That would be wrong to say it as happiness.
There once again, I have to meditate, go into a silent state. Oh, then is when Ananda.
No, but that state, to be in that state always, is where that Nana comes in, right? I mean, when you interact with the world, sorry, sir, but like you keep going between, like for me, if I take my my own personal example. I keep shifting, like going there, going there. So when I am interacting with the world, I don't think I am in that state. To be in that state and interact with the world is what I think we should be going towards, if my understanding is correct.
Again, you are making it subject to conditions. See, in your sentence, please notice.
No, I don't understand what do you mean by subject to conditions. I really don't understand that part of your question.
Okay. Subject to condition means I have to drink coffee, then I will be happy. It is subject to condition. Happiness is subject to condition that there is coffee and I'm able to drink. All these together creates happiness, right? So whenever there is a statement that something is because of something, then there is a subject to condition. It is not unconditional anymore. It is subject to conditions.
So are you trying to say something is unconditional? What is unconditional you are saying? I don't understand.
Is Ananda conditional or unconditional?
Ananda is not conditional.
So it is unconditional.
Yeah.
That's your true nature.
That's your inherent nature. What I am trying to say is, how can you always be in that? That is the path that we are on going in, is what I am saying.
And that is a question I'm asking you to reflect on. How can you be in that when you're already that? See, look at.
Yeah, but then what is the point of? Then where is the question of self-realization itself?
Now, please listen to the question once more. How can I be that which I'm already that? So, what is this then?
It's only the question of realizing that I am that.
Yeah.
So the path of realization is you need to reduce the disturbances which are outside.
How can you reduce the disturbances that are outside? Will ever your senses drop? Will outside world ever stop?
Sir,
No.
isn't that where jnana comes in? Like what we are doing right now in this class, isn't it the path towards that?
Meaning what, Padmaji?
So once you know that the essential nature of me is the Ananda, or that Ananda state, then irrespective of what happens outside, I should be able to reside in it. It's the philosophy, right? It's a concept. So yeah, to start with, possibly you need that relation of doing something and getting something. I know where you're getting to. So we are not in a game of doing something and getting something. We are in a game of realizing something, realizing who we are. Right? We already got it. We want to only realize that we are that. So in the initial phase, unless I experience this, unless I experience that I am Atma, I need to do all these practices. Possibly once you experience it, you don't need all this support.
So isn't it like you need a saguna rupa to eventually go to a nirguna rupa? Is it not like that? It is not possible for everybody to visualize a nirguna rupa and then be devoted, right? Isn't that why we have so many gods and whatever deities we have, so many numbers? Because it's easier for us to associate. So if we see from that aspect, like, okay, if I am self-realized, then there will be no question at all, right? Now, Guruji won't have a question, who am I and all those things, because he's already done that. But we still have that question because somewhere there is that duality. So unless we begin like what Prakashji says, that we have to go inside out, that is a process. How do we even get there, right? Because we are constantly enveloped in whatever is going on in our life, in our external things and all that, and in the mind. So that is why I said that when you meditate is probably the closest that I am going to that state. It is not like I am able to, there is no distinction when I go there, but to express it is how I am putting it. Like that is probably the state, because that is the state which is very peaceful, where there is nothing, there is only bliss, there are no thoughts. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do next. It's a like an equilibrium. So that's why I described it like that. So I don't know if I'm still getting your question correctly and responding.
All right. So the question is, Prakash ji said that the inherent nature of Atman is Sat, Chit and Ananda, Satchidananda. So what does inherent nature means? It means that is by itself. It is not by getting something.
That which you are.
That which you are. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I am wearing a white shirt, so body appears white is a acquired attribute. Fire, heat cannot be separated. So you and Sat, you and Chit, you and Ananda cannot be separated. I cannot say, look, this much Ananda you got. So it is inherent. Correct? Okay. So Sat means what Prakash ji said? Truth. That which is beyond time. That which is beyond places. So how do you establish that you are Sat? How do you establish that you are Sat?
I know that. I know that. I don't need any. I don't need anybody to tell me that I am that. Right? I know that. I don't know how I know that, but I know.
Okay. So
I think that is what we try to do by negation, isn't it? So we started with body. Okay, body is not permanent, so therefore it is not. So then we get.
Correct.
So therefore, I mean, therefore we know Atma. See, knowing
negation,
Atma doesn't mean that
after negation there is something that
remains,
which I am calling as Atma right now for the
yeah. If you ask me, do you know Atma? I don't know. But I only infer Atma.
Yeah, the one who is inferring, who is the the one who says I am inferring Atma, who is that?
No, that is also Atma only.
So there cannot be another entity called me who is inferring about me. So I'm talking about me only. So this is how you establish, one of the way of establishing that you are Sat. That after negation also something is remaining. Or like Padmaji said, if I ask you, are you there? Inherently she knows I am there. No proof is needed. I am there. I know. That doesn't need any other additional proof. So that I know, I is the Sat. And I know is the Chit. Because to know means what? To be conscious.
Conscious.
Yeah. So that is also inherent in you. You know, nobody taught you language. You learned language. Nobody can teach you anything. You are learning. Your eyes are not seeing. You are seeing through the instrument called eye. So that whole seeing, hearing, knowing, all that is inherent in you. So your Chit. So these two, very clear, easy to realize through the examples that you have given. Correct? But when it comes to Ananda, you are making it subject to experience, subject to conditions. How can that be? Inherent means inherent. You're already that. You're already Ananda. You're already bliss. Prakash, is the question clear? Or is it confused?
Yeah, question is clear, but as I said, it is the true nature, isn't it? So we are talking about the true nature. That doesn't mean the true nature appears all the time, right?
How can that very statement is contradictory, no?
Not realize and use, no, sir.
Means what, Shubhaji? Which means that it is subject to experience. One day I will be blissful. That is what that means, no? Is that the case is what I'm asking the question as?
If I ask you a question, are you blissful right now? What would your answer be?
Yes.
Does that mean that you don't have any other emotions coming to you?
They are
It's a
the waves
conscious,
appearing and disappearing in the mind.
it's a conscious decision also that I am happy right now. So automatically it becomes I am happy.
It's not a decision that it is not that
State.
I think that I am happy.
It's a state, right?
It is not a state. I'm not thinking I'm happy.
States will change, no, Shubhaji.
Yeah.
So now,
No, what
various emotions are appearing and disappearing in a screen called mind.
Okay, then I think the basic understanding what we have about Ananda is, I think all of us, I think most of the time we associate Ananda with a particular feeling that we have to experience. So the error is there, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But
So when I say,
when Satyaji said she drank coffee and mind completely became peaceful, then the feeling that, in that window is what later was explained as Ananda, happiness. Later.
But actually Ananda cannot be explained, right?
Because it is
it is like that Sat and Chit, which is
it's
just
a
there.
it's a
Okay.
continuous flow.
Okay.
That is who you are. You have that feeling through the instrument when you have another power called attention. You have another power called attention. You can pay attention to whatever.
Yeah, correct.
You pay attention to content of the mind, and when there is a ignorance that I am the one who's paying the attention, and you get connected to the object, then you become the object of your attention. So you become the mother, or you become the wife, or you become the...
Sorry, sir, could you repeat that statement again? The previous one, what you said, the attention?
Sure. There's an inherent capacity in you called attention.
Correct.
See, attention is, if I ask you, please see which finger I'm showing now. You're drawn to that. Please listen to the sounds outside of your room. You're drawn to that. So that is your ability called attention. That attention, when it is on the content of the mind, see, on the screen called mind, objects are appearing and disappearing. Okay. Now there is an object appearing, and that object is, let's say, a person's image, and that person is now connected in the mind as husband. Then there is a connected relationship to that called wife. So now this is what is happening in the screen called mind. So when you forget that I'm paying attention, and you become the objects that you're seeing, because there is a ego called wife, and you become that wife, and you
Correct.
that object, then you're constantly with the objects of the mind, that changing. That makes us forget that true nature is Ananda. Because now it is subject to condition of what is happening on the screen called mind. If something that is pleasant to this ego happens, then the mind naturally calms down, because then the dissatisfaction or whatever that other object that has appeared in the mind is no more there. So then the one who identifies wife comes and says, oh, I felt very happy when you did that to me. So we continue to condition our thinking in the same way. Oh, it is subject to that, it is subject to this, it is subject to doing that, subject to doing this. So you make Ananda a condition of situations in the mind.
So you truly cannot describe Ananda. It is just like the Sat and the Chit. It is just there. And it is inherent in you.
Yeah, you are that.
I think Padmaji, I mean, previously when Vijayji was asking, do you know Chit or you were very confident in answering that I know. I don't know how I know, but I know it. I think that clarity and that confidence maybe has to come in all of us, that we are Ananda also. Because
that's what I said, Satyaji. I think we associate it with emotion, and we feel that Ananda aspect has to be experienced.
Yeah, so it is not any experience that we have to get something and then feel. So again, when we are feeling it, we are connecting ourselves to the mind. Again, when we are expecting something, we are connecting ourselves to some person and our role. There is a role playing that we are doing. And I think that way, when you're confident that I am blissful and all these things, that is why when we are doing meditation, we concentrate, we take the awareness, just as Vijayji was saying, attention. So that of attention, we take it to the breath. So you take the awareness to the breath. Why we take it to the breath is that it is the more or less, it is the least, wavering thing. Where breath also is an object, ultimately. You have to leave concentration on the breath also. But then that is the one thing which you can really focus upon or take your attention to, because there is that inhale and exhale at a constant pace, which will calm your mind. The moment the mind calms, you can take your attention to yourself, which is not taking it anywhere else.
One more point I would just like to add before Satyaji continues. Breath is formless. With breath, you don't imagine some shapes and forms.
Correct.
So your mind naturally goes into no imagination. When I ask,
it's like energy.
Pay attention to breath. What are you imagining? Nothing. But okay, the sensation of the breath is what you're paying attention to actually. But your mind has become contentless. Because the whole problem is mind is filled with objects, shapes, forms. Please continue, Satyaji.
Yeah, I remember when we were doing meditation, Prabhuji says, you concentrate here or look through this, you will find a light. Immediately people say, okay, is it red light or is it yellow light or white light?
Correct.
So again, all these we are going associating with forms. But this is the only thing which is more or less stable. Like there is an inhale, there is an exhale. And that keeps on happening whether you are aware of it or not.
Correct.
So taking your attention or your awareness to something which is there constantly. Okay, we, as good as Atma or as good as self, it is always there, but we are not aware of it. I think that is the first step for meditation, where we take our attention to the breath and slowly we are not even aware of the breath. We are just aware. That's all.
And that statement you make is like awareness can be aware of awareness.
Yes.
It's like you are aware of you.
So repeat that, sorry.
Awareness is aware of awareness.
Yes.
Okay.
And awareness is also aware of no awareness. Suppose we are behaving in an unconscious way. Who knows it? Awareness knows it. So, in fact, many times when we are getting into a conversation or an argument or anything, our mind also knows that you are getting into an argument. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? So, there is something which is constantly knowing everything you do. Awareness is knowing awareness. Awareness is knowing when there is no awareness also.
All right. So the whole seeking of Ananda as an experience itself has put a condition in our mind that realization is a matter of time and space. That is why the game, another game called self-realization begins. But self-realization is in one sense, again, I'm not trying to say that sadhana is not necessary. So the whole point is not about sadhana. The whole point is about right now, are you bliss? You are bliss. There is nothing to be done to be bliss. Just like how there is nothing to be done to be Sat and Chit. The very idea of doing something to get something is always anitya. So your sahaja means natural, inherent. Your sahaja swarupa is Sat and Chit and Ananda, Satchidananda Swarupoham. So the vichara of today is focused on that Ananda is not subject to conditions. However, like you rightly said, see, even today's vichara is removing that any misconception. So this is necessary. This is happening in time and space. But once when the time and space construct is dropped, then what remains? Is that shapeless and formless, but that eternally conscious you. And that conscious you doesn't need anything to be happy.
Actually, Padmaji was asking Vijayji, are you happy? Are you blissed? I mean, Vijayji did not hesitate. Suppose you asked me, even I would hesitate. Because our mind does not allow us to accept that we are blissful. It is so afraid that we will stop doing everything.
I think the real question is, do you really experience the bliss? The experience is stopped by so many things.
The question, Prakashji, the experience is a matter of the instrument.
The mind experience, it is the mind which gives names. I am happy, I am sad, but what is really there is nothing. There is nothing, in fact. Why? Are you happy? Are you happy? Am I blissful? We can't do that all the time. But inherently, we are happy. Right now, is there any problem that is bothering you? If it was there, you wouldn't have been sitting here for 1 hour. So that is the true nature. We are already there. We are already blissful, but we do not. We, in the sense, the mind does not want to agree or accept. Just in case Padmaji stops doing something which the mind has already designated something for you for today.
Let's say tomorrow something untoward happens and there's tears in the eyes. Somebody may come and question you. Oh, why are you sad? You said you are blissful. So we mistake what happens outside, what happens through the instrument, the experiences as bliss. No. What you experience as sadness is also because of your inherent ability to experience things. You're conscious. That is the inherent nature, to feel something. But that doesn't mean that your inherent nature of Ananda has gone away. You're paying attention to what is happening on the screen. You have, the Navarasas are part of life. Bhaya, Bhivatsa.
Pain and suffering also, no?
Are all part of it.
Pain happens, but suffering is your choice. So we need not suffer every pain. So pain can happen even to Ramana Maharshi. It has happened to everyone. Because there is a body, there is pain. suffering is again, it looks like, okay, because this is happening, we need to suffer, or we need to look sad, or we need to be sad, or because this is happening, we need to be happy. Even that is wrong. Just as this is unnecessary, even this is unnecessary. Again, all that is a drama by the mind, saying that, yes, now you can be happy. Oh, I take it away from you. Now you should be sad. It need not necessarily be. We are what we are. We are that.
So the moment I say, am I experiencing, I'm making it subject to body and mind's condition. The moment I say, am I experiencing bliss? No, I'm not experiencing bliss. There's nothing to experience. Realize that that is what it is, and then be it.
I think, like, sir, you said about that word love, no, prema. It's different in our Sanskrit. Like that, I think this Ananda is something which we just generally associate with happiness, just the word happiness. And that's where the error starts.
I think that is where it is anirvachaniyam. It cannot be expressed in words. I'm just searching for the word, but yeah, it is already said, it is not possible.
All right. Prakashji, it was an excellent session by you. Thank you very much for bringing another way of approaching Tattvabodha.
Okay, thank you, Vijayji. I hope I made some sense. Thank you.
No, a lot of it. It was very well done. The way you brought out words and inherent meanings. Do others want to share their opinion?
Yeah, I think some of the basic topics, again, we went into a lot of depth. So I really like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Padma.
It was really good, Prakashji. In a way, you have summed up the whole thing in very clear words, and wherever there was a chance, even things like love or simple things that we assume we know everything about. But there is a lot to know at that point, because when simple things are elaborated so much, the complex things we know how to elaborate. Because because our mind is totally tuned to processing complex ones rather than simple ones. So you brought it in a very nice way, Prakashji. It was good.
Thank you, Satyaji.
So I hope you'll continue this. Yeah, Shivaji, please, you share.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, even though we were going back and forth, every time we go back, it's like a different experience altogether. Things that were never discussed got discussed. So in a way, for all of us who were attending before also, it's like a new dimension it is, and new thoughts are coming in. So it's never it's never a repetition is what I felt. It's everything is, every session, it's like new things we are able to learn. So I would thank Prakash ji for that, because it was totally a new set of thinking for me at least. So thank you, Prakash ji.
Thank you, Shivaji.
Yeah, I agree, Shubhaji. Correct. Actually, I was thinking, like what Prakash ji said, Saravanan ji has a very detailed way of explaining in his thing, but Prakash ji like made it very short and concise, but you know, you could
each
think
person
deeper
brings
on
in
that.
a different this thing. That's very good, actually. It makes us think like, oh, we can think this way also.
See, that's why there is a statement, no? Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti. Truth is one, but the known say it in different ways. And when it is said in a different way, depending upon the nature of the mind, it resonates with that.
Yeah.
Therefore, song of every bird is important.
Okay, I'm a bird today. Thank you. Hopefully not kaka, pika.
No, even kaka's sound is very important.
Yeah. And
it's only in the mind that, you know, I say this is kaka, this is something else, but it is important, equally.
No, I'm just remembered a Subhashita, which I learned some time back. So they say about Kakaha Krishnaha, Pikaha Krishnaha, both are Krishna, that is both are black. But only in the Vasantakala you will know the difference.
But there is also another song where the poet says, it's a Tamil wonderful song. The poet says that in Kaka also I see Krishna, in Navilu also I see Krishna. Rupaji, you want to say something? Are you there, Rupaji? Okay, all right. So shall we end our contemplation?